Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal Brew. I am your host, Taryn, live every Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Although today we are doing another pre-recording for special guests. When schedules conflict, I this is my second time doing this. So the first time I kind of had some hiccups, but hopefully with that I've learned a little bit more. Um, and that live ended 15 minutes before it should have for some reason, but I did upload the whole video, so please go check it out. That was from last week or the week before. This episode is going to be, I'm going to air this. This is going to be, let me see. Oh my gosh, where's my calendar? Calendar. I can't see. There it is. So April 8th. April 8th, this episode will air because this Wednesday coming up, it would have been you're going to be watching this, so it was last Wednesday. It was my 10-year anniversary of being on the brew. So it's open mic night. It was an open mic night, and people could have came. I know, hopefully this still happens, but Kenny Biddle and a bunch of people are supposed to be coming, jumping on and saying hi. So hopefully that still happens. But since that hasn't happened yet, I have a special guest. I met him through the debunking community, which I love. His Scarborough is his name. Scarborough, I think Gatekeeper is what goes along with that. But Scarborough is Doug Fisher, if you don't know him. For amazing artist, and unfortunately he doesn't have any of his drawings, available to share with us, but he's a great artist. But I'm going to read his bio and then bring him on. Doug Scarborough Fisher. Doug is a paranormal enthusiast who would describe himself as a skeptical believer. He has done paranormal investigations in the past for the group Parapatrol in north central Massachusetts, and focused on debunking things when he could, and analyzing audio and photographic recordings for anomalies. He intends to get back to investigating again in the future. In his off time, he builds movie prop replicas, Ghostbusters related for now, and likes to draw, and the banner of Gatekeeper Productions, and under the banner of under the banner of Gatekeeper Productions USA. He is known in the paranormal YouTube sphere under the handle Scarborough Gatekeeper. That was right. Seen in the chats of live streams that has come to support many of the debunking channels. He is also a fan of the stranger side of the paranormal, including projects such as Hellier and The Unbinding, which are headed up by Greg and Dana Newkirk, and that's in part of what we're going to talk about tonight. So, without further ado, let me bring on Doug.
Hello there.
Hi, how are you? Did I do good?
Yeah, you did good.
How are you this evening, sir?
Doing pretty good.
Good. So I'm happy to join you. Finally, I get to meet you face to face. I mean, we've talked so much on Facebook and on YouTube, and you've been in all the live streams that I'm in, and so it's finally nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, it's good to see you face to face.
Sure, sure, sure.
And happy 10 years. Wow.
I know. I can't believe it. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be doing it, but 10 years is a long time. And I always urge everybody not to look back at my in my beginning because it's pretty rough.
I think that goes for any podcast too, that like that's been, going on for a long time. People are like, don't listen to the first year.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad. I don't know how I'm still here, to be honest with you. I have no idea. Well, here I am. And here you are. So, paranormal enthusiast. I like that. I like that and you're a debunker. So you're like me. You're a skeptical believer,
Mhm.
or I'm a believer skeptic. I like to say because I believe more than I'm a skeptic. I think. I was having
Right.
this conversation with somebody the other day, and it's like the older you get and the more you learn, the less you like when I first started, everything was paranormal.
Oh
Everything.
yeah.
Everything was paranormal. Now it's like, yeah, maybe that could have been, now there's, you got to like, I feel like now when I'm on investigations, I'm spending more time trying to debunk whatever just happened than just accepting it for what it is,
Right.
or what it could be.
Well, that does seem to be the thing. Like, like I do believe that there's weird stuff out there, but I also believe that it's very easy for us to just misidentify things, you know. And
Absolutely.
that's why it's good, if you're recording as much as you can and actually be able to go at things from different angles after the fact and go, okay, well, here's something we didn't see, but the camera picked up, you know.
Yeah.
So even it's better to me, it's better to not go, oh, it's a demon, if it's like, a cat knocks something over,
Right,
you
right,
know.
right. Yeah, for sure. My thing is EVP. So I have like 6 or 7 recorders that I set up. Like if I go to a location, I have one on each floor. I have one, which I know is kind of somebody would probably say, well, how do you know, you know, I investigate with the same people all the time. So we know where we are at all times. But
Mhm.
if we hear something off in the distance and we don't know what it is and we go and look and stuff, I still have a recorder somewhere that's going to pick up whatever it is that we thought we heard and be able to identify it or not identify it. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty good with that kind of stuff. Like I'll say where the recorder is, what room it's in,
Right. Yeah,
the date.
you'll mark it as you're
Yeah,
leaving it. Yeah.
yeah. So that's my thing. EVPs and recordings. I know everybody has their niche. My guest last week or 2 weeks ago. I keep forgetting this is going to be on not this week, but the following week. So
It's all right.
Dom, the guy that owns Chase Manor in New York, his thing is spirit boxes, and I don't. And I told him, I'm like, I don't subscribe to the spirit box thing, but
Right.
sometimes they can be a little, questionable. Sometimes.
Right. In his clips, it sounded um, sort of like one of the portal devices, maybe, because
Yeah,
it was like all different voices, and then
yeah,
plus the sweeps.
yeah, yeah. I shared the one with the little kid voice because that one was a little creepy to me. I was like, and maybe because it's a kid voice.
Right.
We usually tend to get a little creeped out with the kid voices for some reason.
Yeah, you don't want to think about like a kid being stuck in the afterlife.
Yeah, yeah. So is that what you think? Do you think that if there are spirits here, do you think they're stuck here?
I think it depends a little bit. Yeah, one of my old friends, um, they believed that there couldn't possibly be any such thing as ghosts because God wouldn't let that happen.
Right.
And yet I tried to have conversations with her about like, well, you realize how messed up everybody is, like on the physical plane. How weird is it to think that maybe people might get stuck through whatever transition there is, just going, oh, I don't either, like I don't deserve what comes next, or I don't want to face what comes next, whether people are afraid of it, or if people want to try to stick around and help their families out.
Yeah.
Like there's so many possibilities of people's intentions keeping them earthbound.
Mhm.
Or it could be they could just be visiting.
Right.
Like we don't know, but it's like,
We have no idea.
yeah. But to me, it feels, you know, like trying to say definitively when we don't know is a little strange. Um,
Sure. Either way,
right,
to say that they don't exist or say they do exist on both sides of that spectrum, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
how can we say either?
right. Like I know that our friend Kenny, you know, uh, kind of takes the air out of a lot of balloons a little bit.
Yes, he does.
Um, but in a nice way though, which is good.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, not everybody thinks he's nice, but he does.
but he laughs so much and he's so jolly. It's it's like he is very nice, even if they don't want to hear what he's talking about. Um, but then that's the debunking side of it too, though.
Yeah.
So if we have things like the photographic evidence of like the brown lady of Raynham Hall,
Mhm.
where it just looks like it's just a double exposure, more than likely.
For my whole life, I thought that was real. I
Oh, I
really
did for a long time too, but I looked at it closer, over the last few years, and it's like, eh, we can't say for sure, but it looks similar to other kind of double exposure kind of things.
yeah. I don't know. Ugh. I'm still gonna say I believe it was something. I don't know. Maybe because I want to. I wanna
Right.
believe that that's real. So
I mean,
so
there still could have been something there, even if that's not actually a photo of exactly what was going on.
right, sure.
Yeah, ultimately.
Maybe it's a double exposure of the spirit.
Who knows? It could be.
You never know.
Right.
And I don't know how I think I talked to somebody about this, but I don't know how it got the name Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. I don't know, um, how that nickname came about, but it's a cool picture nonetheless.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think about what's going on in the Bigfoot community right now. Everybody's losing their damn minds because, the Patterson film has been come out to be like definitively a hoax. Like the son and the comes out and says my dad faked that, and then they found footage from a year prior of a dry run of this whole thing. Like everybody's losing their damn minds in the Bigfoot community.
Right.
I'm like,
But people have been trying to pull that apart, for ages, and uh, like uh, before they shot that footage, they were trying to shoot a Bigfoot. They're trying to shoot a Bigfoot movie. So,
oh
so stuff could be a little bit suspect.
yeah,
The movement on it still seems better than could be a suit at that time.
right,
Um, because the stuff at the time would have been like the Planet of the Apes suits and stuff.
right,
Which were good, but they look like a person in a suit.
right.
Um, but I have not seen that new documentary yet. I know that they show like a 60-second clip or something of that dry run. Um, I'm interested to check it out though.
Yeah, for sure. I said, I think The Shape did a video about it, and I was watching it, and I said, it's funny to me that like why are the Bigfoots guys,
Yeah,
you know, why is this so detrimental to their like it doesn't take away from all the research that they've done over the years, and it doesn't take away from the physical evidence that they claim to have. There's a lot of researchers out there that have the plastered foot, the paw prints, and they have the hair that's, they can't, link it to any animal, and they have, I'm just gonna go, I've said this before, but I don't believe in Bigfoot. But
right.
but, I'm not saying that there's not a chance that there is something or something out there either. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with ghost hunting. Like just because something gets debunked doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You're just debunking that one claim. And although I know the
Right.
Patterson film is like this big, huge, you know, legendary, thing that started that kind of brought the Bigfoot stuff to the forefront or whatever, much like ghost hunters would have done for us as ghost hunters,
Right.
you know what I mean? Um, I still think like I'm like, why is everybody so upset? Like, just if it is a fake, okay, but it doesn't erase all the years of everybody doing their own research and doing their investigating.
Oh, for sure. They still have everybody's accounts over the years. They still have everything that they've made plaster casts of. They still have the Sierra sounds,
Yeah,
which are, insane if you listen to them. Like it does not sound, it we might not know every normal animal noise out there, but it doesn't sound like regular animals out there doing that.
sure. I went big
Um,
hunting one time and heard something that I never heard before. I don't know what it is. I heard it's a big loud one and then a little one, and
oh
I
wow.
was like, "What was that?" You know, it was really crazy, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, I don't believe in Bigfoot. I would have to actually see it to believe it, I think.
Right. Well, one
Um,
of the things, with following the Newkirks, um, their stuff, they've kind of separated themselves from the mainline paranormal community at this point. They're kind of doing their own thing.
right.
Um, but they
Smarter.
kind of, well, yeah. Um,
Mhm.
but they kind of look at stuff as though everything is connected because, you'll have, aliens, but there'll be some of the phenomena that seems like ghosts. You'll have Bigfoot sightings and you have lights in the sky at the same time. You know, you'll have, paranormal stuff and then abduction things happening at the same time. So they try to have a little bit more of a holistic view of the whole thing and try to look at the phenomena as a whole.
Right,
And Greg in particular has been saying for a while, like if these people in these different fields would talk to each other instead of walling everything off, maybe some new theories could come about.
right. I mean, I think it's all under the same umbrella for sure. Whether they're all connected, I don't know, but I think it's all like I say this sometimes too. Like, I'm a ghost hunter. Let's just say you take a Bigfoot hunter, you take a alien hunter, right? And I'm just saying hunter for lack of,
Right.
you know, um, all three of us could be standing there, see something, but see it in a different. It's all about perception. Like
Right.
I would see Casper. This guy would see Bigfoot. This one guy would see a little green alien. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's our perception of the unknown too.
Right. And even with alien stuff, it's like, you have some people that you'll have two or three people having the same experience, being seeing the same thing. And, two people will see an owl and the third person will see an alien.
Right.
So even
Although,
even just in that kind of thing, there wind up being differences.
right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I really do believe it's perception, it's belief, it's and that goes with everything in life. I mean, you know, even like witnessing something on the street, like a fight.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like your story could be different than the guy standing next to you. It's all about how someone perceives what they're seeing.
Right. And different angles or
Hmm.
somebody might know what's going on and other people don't. And,
Yeah.
some folks just think somebody was, just blindsided the other person. And yeah.
Yeah. And you never know. I mean, and that's the thing. And then now we can attend with AI.
Oh yeah.
AI is like, it has taken over, unfortunately. So it makes it so hard to trust anything and that's with everything. Everything. It makes it so hard to trust what you're seeing, what you're reading, what you're hearing, what you're, being told because AI is freaky.
Right.
Scary.
And even a lot of sites and everything like Facebook pages and Instagram pages and stuff that put up like, here's a paranormal fact of the day and all that. it's getting to be that a lot of that stuff is just written by AI and it's just pumped out and it's not based on anything.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yeah.
people try to find the original story and it's like, this did not appear before this post. What is this?
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes it's good for some stuff, but for the most part, I think it's gonna be eventually it's going to really hurt us. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
I'll be the one to say it, but eventually it's gonna hurt us. Mark my words.
Yeah, for nothing else, the data centers are, and of course we can move off of this in a minute if you want.
No, it's fine.
But the data centers are just like drinking up the fresh water of
Mhm.
all the areas that they get put into.
Yeah,
And I just saw an article last night. I forget the area, but people are experiencing like a low hum all the time in this neighborhood, and it turns out it's from the data center that just got started a couple months earlier.
yeah. It's
So,
really they're very destructive, to the environment. They really are. I mean, think about what what it is in itself. How is that good for the environment?
oh, it's not.
I
It's
mean,
clearly not.
yeah. And it's crazy. Like you can be eco-friendly, eco-friendly all you want, or claim to be eco-friendly, or you know what I mean. Like whatever, you're still, you know, hugely interrupting, you know, the natural environment.
Right, and especially with those, it's like, they're putting in just giant warehouses everywhere, which we already had warehouses, but they're like, "No, no, we wanna make new ones," and in you know, out in the woods and everything that, that hasn't been touched,
Hmm.
or knock down Penhurst and put a freaking data center there,
That really
which is
hurts my heart. It hurts my heart. It
it's
really does.
so bizarre. Why would we do that?
Why would we do that? I know. It's I mean, it's money when it comes down to it. It's money.
Right.
I just saw an article. I shared it the other day that there was a family that was offered 26 million for part of their land, part
Oh, geez.
to put a data center, and they refused.
Oh, wow. Well, good
They,
for them.
yeah, it's amazing. Out in Kentucky, they said nope. This farm's been in our family for generations, and it feeds the nation.
Right.
Like we'd rather continue to feed the nation than 26 million. Can you imagine turning down $26 million?
I can't, but if I felt strongly enough, I would.
Like I'm like so anti data center, but if somebody was like 26 million, I'm like, wow.
I'd be like, "Well, I could move out of the area and stuff."
Yeah, like I
And
won't.
and
Yeah,
easily.
but 26 million is a lot of money to turn down. I couldn't believe it. I mean, good for them though. I'm happy to know that there are still people out there that value, the land, the wildlife, the what, you know what I mean? Like, because we need trees too, people.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, when they were clear cutting, Amazon rainforest, and it's just like, we really need all that stuff down there, guys.
Yeah, yeah, we need it, and
I'm sure they're still doing it too.
it's so sad. And then you think about the wildlife, the habit, the wildlife that inhabits those places, and we need all that too. We need all those animals. We need that.
Right, we need the biodiversity, yeah.
Yeah, we need all of it, and it just people are just so greedy. All right, enough about that. Let's talk
Okay.
about.
Okay, so the stranger side of things.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been following Greg and Dana Newkirk since about, uh, 2021 or so.
Hmm.
Um, the 2 seasons of Hellier had just come out, and they were doing uh, a thing called PhenomenaCon. So it was like an online, paranormal convention,
Right.
uh, which they were I don't know if they were the first one that did that, but they were one of the first ones, and now it seems like every, paranormal convention has some sort of online component. Um, but in this case, you just had to get your access to you just had to get on their Patreon. You know, it was like 15 bucks a month. So I was like, okay, whatever. And it was really fun. And they had a whole variety of speakers, um, talking about the scientific side, talking about the more woo woo side, yeah, all different stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was just very interesting, going over that stuff. It's like John E. L. Tenney had a talk about, uh, you know, who makes the ghosts underwear? Because you always, it's like a lot of the times it's like you see them, they're seen in, night dresses or, things like that. And
Right.
it's like, but then who makes the ghost underwear? Who makes the little shiny
Well,
buttons
are they?
on
Are
the
they wearing?
coats?
Yeah. Yeah. And are they wearing underwear?
Right.
You never know.
So it's
Oh,
just interesting thought experiments. But Tenney is another one that like he'll go to a Bigfoot convention and he'll talk about ghosts, or he'll go to an alien convention and talk about Bigfoot and whatever. He'll mix it all up. Uh, and that's kind of what I like. But the Hellier series is about they got an email from a guy in Kentucky, Hellier, Kentucky, saying that he had goblins that were coming out of an old shut down mine shaft on the edge of his property
goblins.
at night and messing with his family, like trying to like tap on the windows, disturbing his kids. Um, and they did something to the family dog supposedly,
Oh God! Don't tell me that.
and um, and so they asked if Greg would come down and look, and the email that they were using was the contact email for Greg's very old original paranormal group, which was a bunch of just a bunch of kids going out in the woods and spooking themselves,
Right.
and that's all it was. But this was a guy that sounded like he actually needed help, and he tried to help them, and they were trying to go like, okay, would we be able to film this? Thinking maybe we could turn this into a little special or something. And the guy's like, yeah, that's fine. And it's like, look, if we're gonna do this, we need some kind of proof. Do you have anything, any photos or anything like that? And the guy did send them a couple of photos, which are a little bit strange. And then he sent photos of footprints in what looked like a slurry blowout from a mine, which would have theoretically been in the back property.
Okay.
It's these very weird three-toed footprints. Um, looked like they actually have like little folds and creases, and almost like a fingerprint in the toe print.
Right.
Like they look very, very detailed. So they're like, okay, this is great. All right, we're gonna come down there, and the guy cut off all communication.
Wow, that's weird.
And they're like, what the heck just happened?
That's
So
that's strange.
it is. It's like if somebody needed the help, the guy was supposedly a doctor. Um, and he had just moved to the area like 6 months earlier, and this stuff was happening, and just cut off communication. And so that just wound up being just one of these weird things in the cases that they dealt with for a while. And then Greg was on Euphemet podcast talking about that, and a guy named Carl Pfeiffer was watching it, and and was like, "Oh, hey, that's really neat." And then he saw their Planet Weird thing post an article about the same thing, and Carl started, and this is like when Twitter was still actually vibrant,
Right.
and Carl replied back to Greg, "Oh, I see what you did there because your Euphemet episode just came out." And Greg told him, "No, that's on an automatic feed. We don't control that. Yeah, it
Right.
just takes from all the articles that we've written on this Planet Weird stuff." So Carl wanted to actually be like, "Hey, did you actually go down and check that out?" And Greg's like, "Well, we did, but like, we couldn't find anything there." And Carl's like, "Well, I think we should go back." So he got his friend Connor J. Randall and a third person, um, to like help them film and stuff. And they went down to check out, and they did have some strange stuff happen.
So they
But
actually went to this guy's property.
well, they went to Hellier. They tried to find the property,
Oh, okay, okay.
and they couldn't necessarily. They checked around down there. Nobody had heard of this guy. It was a guy named David M. Christie. But they did find strange stuff there.
So,
And
so this was all probably a hoax.
that's basically kind of what they're thinking. It's like, maybe somebody messing with them.
Yeah.
And but this series is where they first showed the Estes method,
Hmm.
because Connor J. Randall and Carl Pfeiffer were the two that actually made that up at the Stanley Hotel. They were resident investigators there. It was them and a lady named Michelle Tate. The three of them were resident investigators.
At the Stanley Hotel.
Yes, in Estes Park, Colorado,
So cool.
which I need to get to at some point. But
Oh my God, me too.
I think they still do ghost tours, but they don't want people to investigate anymore.
I mean, you could always just rent a room and
Oh yeah, I mean, and people still do occasionally.
yeah.
But for a while there, they had like really embraced, like, okay, we have paranormal investigators on site. They're resident investigators. So when they weren't doing tours for the people and doing investigations with customers and stuff, they still had access to the whole hotel.
That's so cool.
So they'd be
Can you
trying out different
imagine?
things. It's insane. It would just be so fun.
Oh my God, it's like a ghost hunter's playground.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Especially a place like that. That's like, here's Trans Allegheny. Have fun, guys.
Oh yeah.
You're like, what?
And with a little bit more of because if Trans Allegheny, if I'm thinking right, it's like it's a little bit difficult to verify that you're actually kind of alone.
Yeah, it's
Um,
huge.
yeah,
It's humongous. But yeah, Stanley Hotel, if you would have maybe a little bit more control over the environment, but again, it's a hotel, right? It's an
right.
active hotel. They're not gonna, I don't know how many rooms it is, but they're not gonna shut the whole place down for.
Oh yeah, not at all. But if you're there all the time, you'll also know, like, hey, this is an area that nobody goes into. We'll go and check that out. So they started the S's method because the spirit box thing was always so just subjective,
Right.
because you would just hear what you want, and everybody would, be straining their ears to try to, hear what they wanted to hear as an answer to questions and stuff. So they're like, okay, let's cut off, let's have one person listening to the spirit box, and cut off, outside interference,
Right.
theoretically. So at first, they just were like having earbud headphones and like had their eyes closed, and it was in the dark and stuff. And the first couple of times they did it, it's like, we can still hear you guys. Okay. So Connor is a drummer. So he's like, well, I have these Vic Firth headphones, noise isolating headphones. We'll just use those. So it's, that cut him off much, much more.
Right.
And then also blindfolding him, because even with your eyes closed, you can still see, if there's some light, you can still see if somebody's moving in front of you and stuff like that.
Right. Sure.
And they felt that they got some interesting results that way.
Hmm.
And the first thing that I think that people actually saw it on was kindred spirits, because Amy Bruni was friends with Carl and Connor and went to Estes Park all the time.
Hmm.
But in the show, they just said it's a spirit box session,
Right.
because Carl and Connor had not named it until they were doing season 1 of Hellier.
And they named it that. They said that's when they said, "Oh, because Estes
Yeah.
Park."
Yeah.
Oh, duh. Did you see the light go off in my head? Oh, Estes Park.
Yep. No, exactly.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's where it stemmed from.
Yep. Uh, but now we flash forward to today, and so many channels are using what they're calling the S's method, and they're just using whatever headphones. A lot of them aren't blindfolding themselves. Sometimes they're plugging into just the apps that automatically say something,
Right.
and it's like, well, that's not even listening to a spirit box. That's listening to something that is specifically designed to be spooky,
Right.
and you're just saying what it says. Like, that's not the thing either.
Right.
Um,
I was a
but
part.
it's
Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, sorry.
But
Just it's interesting the kind of interactions that people can get if they're doing it the way that Connor and Carl set up.
right.
Um, but then at the same time, we've seen things like on the overnight channel with Elton, you know,
Mm.
where he's supposedly doing the S's method in front of Annabelle, to people there, and he's just responding to them immediately and way too specifically, and we look at that and go, well,
Yeah.
that's probably performance.
Yes. Yeah. Entertainment, fake,
Right.
fraud, whatever you want to call it. Yes. I was a part of one time, and it was really cool how they did it. Now I can't sit here and tell you what equipment was used, right? Because I don't know. But it was at the Kreischer Mansion in New York, and or no, it was the Strauss, maybe. And it was either Kreischer or Strauss. I can't remember now what house, which location it was, but I'm going to say Kreischer Mansion. Um, they had somebody in the basement and somebody on the third floor, and in the middle they had this setup where that's where we were asking the questions.
Oh,
Now,
that's neat.
so we were asking the questions. Now we had they were blindfolded and they had headphones on, but they also had microphones that I for somehow some way we were able to hear their responses. Right.
Right.
I don't know if they had something connected to um, uh, like an audio box for us to be able to hear because we weren't yelling the questions. We were just saying the questions, and then
Right.
we would and they had me writing down the response for the person upstairs, and they had somebody else writing down the response for the person downstairs. And they would ask the question, and sometimes the answers they were given would line up with what we were asking, which I thought was really weird because they couldn't hear us.
Right.
They could not hear us. They were on a totally different floor, and they were blindfolded. And we weren't clicking anything to ask the question. So it's not like they were here, there was no way that we were faking it. I mean, I was watching them. I was
Right.
like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like how I think the box was just to be able to hear their responses so that we knew what they were, if they were saying anything, whatever we were able to hear them. Um,
Right. That variation, that sounds good. I like that one.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was the first time I was ever a part of anything like that. Like, and it was really cool to see. And I liked how they had somebody writing down the responses to the questions, and we were recording as well. So, like I said, some of the answers lined up, not everyone, but some of
Right.
them lined up with our questions. And I was like, wow, that was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's my experience. And I had another experience. We were at Wildwood Sanitarium, and I put on the headphones. But I will tell you, you know, the more you sit there and you have that white noise in your ear, I feel like it takes you, you know what I mean? Like after a while, I think you just kind of like, I don't know. It just,
It just puts you into a trance almost.
yeah, like I don't think it's good to be on that. Well, I was on that shit for like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that was
20 minutes is kind of the usual session that they try to do.
I was in it longer. I say 20 minutes, but I was sitting in a tub where electric shock therapy would happen. You
Oh,
know what I
wow.
mean? And so I'm sitting in this tub when I was blindfolded and I had headphones on. I could not hear the people that they were They were close to me, but I couldn't hear what they were asking.
Right.
Um, I don't think any of my answers matched up to what they were asking, but they did say that one of the strange things I did was I tilted my head and I laughed, but it didn't,
Ah.
and it didn't sound like me.
Oh, that's
Um,
freaky.
and I don't remember it. I don't remember doing that.
Right.
So I don't know what that was about. Like maybe I was just so entranced with the noise and everything like that, that's why I don't remember. I don't know. I don't
Hmm.
know. I just it was strange. But they said they thought it was really cool, and they have it on video. Like they have the whole thing on video. The team
Oh
that
wow.
yeah. So it was a cool experience. But I'm not one to be like, woo, let's do the Estes method, woo. Yeah.
Right. And I know that like a lot of a lot of the debunkers and stuff, it's like as soon as a paranormal video that they're checking out goes, let's do the Estes method. They're going, oh crap, not again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows what? Sorry, I don't know why I'm yawning so much.
Oh, it's okay.
I mean, it's technically 10 o'clock. It's like 10:45. So I mean, in the morning. It's not
Right.
at night, and I'm over here yawning my cell phone. But um, I can see like when we do our investigations, the peaches, like we do them. We have equipment. We have so much equipment. We have thermal cameras, night vision. We have like the all the stuff that comes out. We get as a group and we use it while we're on our investigations. But the only thing that I would ever put into something saying like, to me this is unknown or paranormal would be EVPs. Now, if an
Right.
EVP happens or a disembodied voice happens when there's all this stuff is going on at the same time with the equipment, then maybe. But the equipment to me is just something nostalgic, something to add to our investigation, something to like maybe set the mood. I don't put anything into the equipment. There's some stuff that happens with it that it's like strange, you know what I mean? But it's built for investigating. So like it's you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I can't subscribe to all of it.
Right. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's almost too much.
Yeah.
Like if you have so much stuff going on. You know.
Um and things that have like that bell. You know that
Oh,
bell?
the dead bell. Yeah.
It's got a sensitivity like thing to go up and down. Like no, just give me a bell. I don't want it
Right.
attached to anything electronic. I don't want to be able to set a sensitivity. Give me a bell that's on a desk. And if that goes off, if that dings, then okay.
Right. Then something strange might be going on.
Right. Right. But when it's connected to something to help that happen,
Right.
I just
And
like
that's even the thing like with the REM pods. It's like if the antenna is a little bit loose, like it can go off easily. Uh, you know, people's radios can set them off.
yeah.
You know, it's like there's a lot of the equipment that it's like here this hunts ghosts and marketed by like Ghost Stop and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, a lot of it winds up being like, this is, $5 in components and a 3D printed shell. Like, why are you charging $150 for this? And
Right.
it's
Right.
just something to make light and noise and.
So I did a live investigation a few years back, and it's like 3 hours long. It's very long.
Oh wow.
And there was some things going on with equipment, disembodied like phantom noises. And I encourage like so many people to watch that. And because I think there's a difference between people that purposely go on these lives to fake stuff for views and subs, right? And then you have people that are legitimately investigating. They may think they caught something,
Right.
but that's where I like when the debunkers come in because they're honest. They go, okay, no, this is what could cause this to happen, or this is what could cause that. And then, you will be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, okay, then that really didn't happen that way that I thought. And that's okay.
Right.
I welcome the criticism. I tell everybody, I'm like, go watch that. Please explain to me because I'm not very versed on the equipment. Like I don't, I'm like, all I know is, I have a trigger prop, right? That where is he? He's a cat. It's a cat, right? This is what he looks like,
Oh, that's cute.
right? He's so cute. And you pet his head, or whatever. Like he has lights around the collar. He
Hmm.
has his nose lights up. But I'm just like, can you pet the cat? Because to me, that's cats have been around forever. So no matter where
Oh,
you're
right.
at, if there's a spirit there from the 1700s, you're gonna pet the cat, or you pet the red pod. Like they're gonna be like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? I'll pet
Right.
the cat instead. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that seems to make more sense.
yeah. So I like to use little things like that, stuff that would make sense to any era, anybody, and who would be afraid of a kitty.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, some people are afraid of cats, but yeah. Um, but but even with him, like if he goes off, I'm not like, oh my god, there's a ghost over there. I'm checking the battery. I'm always second guessing everything
Right.
now. You know what I mean? Like so I don't I feel like I don't get to enjoy when I use the equipment. It's like I'm more worried about debunking the equipment and
Oh,
debunking,
gotcha.
you know what I'm saying, instead of just put the recorders on and I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to investigate. And if I catch something on the recorder, that's enough for me. I don't need to have photographs. I don't need to have video. My own personal experiences are just that, and the EVPs I get, or disembodied voices, or phantom noises, and then, because I'm not trying to prove it to anyone.
Right.
I'm trying to prove it to myself. To be honest with you, like I want to know if there is something after.
Well,
I want to. I
I'd
want.
like to know too.
Yeah. I
Um,
want to believe.
that's why whenever this stuff happens, it seems much more interesting to me if, like if you had the cat there and it was going off and you also got an EVP,
Right.
and something moved. You know,
Right. Right.
it's kind of like if a lot of stuff it does wind up lining up,
Right.
that seems much more interesting than just the thing lighting up.
Right. Right.
Um,
Like, yeah, the live investigation that I did, it was just me and the owner of the home, and there was so much happening that I was like, I eventually looked at him in the middle of it, and this was live. I'm like, are you fucking with me? Like, how is all of this happening? Like,
right, like,
because,
did you set this up?
yeah, like I literally, because I've never been around where the equipment was so responsive
Hmm.
and not responsive. You know what I mean? Like when
Like, it
we would,
wasn't just always going off, it was going
right.
off
It was
at certain times.
right. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what is happening? And then when me and him were just talking to ourselves in the one room, and nothing was going off. Nothing was going off. Nothing was reacting. Nothing was, and we asked a question, nothing happened. So I was like, oh, if you're not in the room anymore, can you make a noise of a room you're in? And a piece of equipment went off on the in another room.
Oh,
And
gee.
I was like, I can't. I'm like, I looked at him like, you're fucking with me. Is there somebody else in this house? I was like, what is happening? You
Oh,
know?
wow.
Yeah, it was a good investigation, but and I encourage, so I'm like, tell everybody, I'm like, go watch it. Tell me, let me know if I'm misinterpreting what I was experiencing. Because I find a lot of times when you're in the moment, it's a lot different than when you're watching
Oh,
what's going.
yeah, and especially if, like, a third party is watching afterwards and going like, "Well, maybe you missed this, maybe you missed that." Um,
I
yeah,
think it's fun
it's
though.
well, it's also one of the things that, like, a lot of the paranormal channels that don't like the debunkers try to go, "Oh, well, you're just, sitting in your office or whatever, you know, you're not actually out in the field," but a lot of the debunkers do investigations as well,
Yeah, so
you
true.
know?
Well,
So
I mean, there is a little bit of merit to only saying, like, how can you, when you're not actually in that environment, during that environment, and like, how can you say, Like, I know that there's people out there that fake stuff all the time, which the
Right,
developers go after them all day long. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be faking stuff. You know what I mean? But when somebody feels like they've had a true experience, you know what I mean? And, you know, something happens and this and that, and like like I find it hard when I'm watching stuff to be like, well, I wasn't actually there. So how could I, except for the people that fake stuff. I mean, that's just blatantly like,
right,
okay, you're faking it.
and some of them fake very well,
Yeah, they do. They
but
do.
that's usually that's, you know, that's the channel itself, that's not like, somebody generally speaking, that's not just somebody trying to check things out and,
Right.
you know they're having a lot of things happen, so they're trying to record stuff. Um, like, it gets very muddy.
It does. Yeah, it does. But I appreciate the debunkers more than anything. Like I find myself gravitating towards the debunking community more and more and more than I do the paranormal community, except for my peaches. You know, they're the
Right,
I love the debunking community. I love how everybody's always there for each other and everybody's, willing to go. I mean, with the exception of a few that
right.
bad apples, but there's bad apples in every community.
Oh, yeah, but it's like if somebody is going after a one debunker, then the
Yeah.
whole community, really usually pulls together.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great. Like, and I love that each debunking channel, like they do things their own way. Like the Shape does things certain way, Kenny Biddle does things certain way,
Right,
Florio does things certain way, is
right,
Truth or
and they
Tea.
don't necessarily agree with each other necessarily.
Right, right. Yeah.
You know,
But
there
they
might be a lot of overlap in life kind of baseline, but, you know
right. They don't do their videos the same way. Like set
right,
like
everybody has their own opinion and
yeah,
their
like
own field almost.
Dust does his the way, Seg does his the way he does his, you know what I mean? And they're all, and Beardo, like they're all very, and they're great. I love their videos. I could watch their videos all day long. And then, but the paranormal ones, the I like to watch real investigating, so that's why I still watch Jay Halls. I
Oh,
watch.
yeah,
I love watching Jay and JV. I love watching their videos because to me, they're the realest, the closest thing out there for what we still, you know what I mean? Like not faking. They're really investigating and really doing what we do.
right, and it seems like they're actually going around. It's not heavily edited.
Right,
Yeah, it's like there's edits, but it's, more of like, you're explaining what the place is and what the activity is, and then they go out and check.
right,
It's not like some current channels that just there's an edit every few seconds, and it's like, okay, then you can't necessarily say that this was in response to what you just said because there was a cut there,
right.
you know?
Yeah. That's the thing that I love learning is learning to be able to pick out that stuff, like the cuts, and seeing like and knowing like now I'm more every time I see something I'm like, oh my god, this is so fake. Like they faked it. Then there's a difference between faking it and then misunderstanding what you've gotten. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like there's a big difference
Oh,
there.
for sure.
So
Yeah, there's a difference between misidentifying and being like a video from, like, say, The Angry Cajun, where
yes,
he's got a clearly overlaid, very, very small but very overlaid voice, and that he is pausing for the voice, and then it
mhm,
happens.
yeah,
It's like he's leaving. Yeah, like you can tell. I think that most of us can tell he's leaving that space and then coming back in and filling it in later
yeah,
because it just lines up exactly. Which
yeah,
when you catch anomalous activity, it doesn't line up exactly, usually,
right. No,
you
and
know?
sometimes and I'm gonna tell you, it's like a lot of times it happens when you're not even investigating, like when you're just sitting around talking,
Right.
shit'll just something happens and you're like, damn it. I was that's why I record the entire time. We'll do EVP bursts, but I leave my recorders on the entire time that we're investigating and we're
Right,
there. Even like if we're sleeping overnight, if we're overnight, I'll leave a recorder on just in case.
right.
Because you
Yeah,
never
my
know.
old group, there was one EVP that they caught that was just they were setting the equipment up still,
Yeah.
and you can hear one person go, "Hey, should we shut these monitors off?" And the head of the group is like, "What monitors?" It's like, "These ones, the computer monitors." and then you hear somebody go, "Yeah, it was me," and
Like,
that was not anybody that was there.
wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what I'm
it's like
saying.
it's like I
Like,
just tried
oh,
to, it's like, I wasn't on site for that one. I was just checking the audio and the photos and everything. And I'm like, "Well, it sounds like somebody says this," and they're like, "Yes, but these were the 3 people that were there, and that was a 4th person."
right. Yeah. And
You
that's
know,
why
and they
it's
would have
always
had to be close to the recorder if it sounded like that.
good. That's just shit I love. Because
Oh, yeah.
how can you explain that? I'm
Right.
sure Kenny would be able to explain something,
Or at
but
least have a possible explanation. Yeah,
yeah.
unfortunately, I went to try to find the old Pair Patrol website, and it's unfortunately been taken down now, but it had the EVPs on there,
Oh,
and I'm like,
really?
"Oh, no."
Yeah, I love EVPs. It's my favorite thing because to me it's the hardest to explain.
Right.
I mean,
And
again,
things where it sounds like actual words and not just and it's like it said, "Get out," and it's like, "No, it said," like,
yeah, right.
doesn't
No, I don't
you
use
know
the DR60. I think
Yeah.
DR60s are a joke. I just
Oh,
like
they are.
I like
They're a broken piece of tech
yeah.
that is not worth 2 to $5,000.
No way.
Not at all.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then another thing I love are the old school tri-field meters.
Oh, yeah.
Not the electronic ones, but the ones where you actually have to dial it and you know what I mean? Those are like 3
Right,
to
and where it's got the actual, the needle, the actual gauge.
yes, yes. I love those for some reason. I just I love that, but that wasn't made for ghost hunting.
Right.
I think that's why I like it so much. So for me, like those are the things I like. I like the things that aren't the electronic stuff, the apps, the things that can be manipulated or can be, that are built for investigating. Like, I don't know. I can't fully subscribe to it. And I
Right.
know that a lot of people probably hate that, but I don't, I can't.
Yeah, like,
I'll use it, but I don't subscribe to it.
I don't mind certain things like the millimeter where where it's just a combination of things,
Yeah.
so that it has a temperature sensor, depending on the model, that it has a temperature sensor, uh, and the EMF, and like it has several things put into one device. It's like that I kind of don't mind.
Hmm.
Things like the REM pods, I feel like they can go off too easily at times.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
and sometimes people don't seem to actually know kind of which model they have because I think they do have a couple of different models of those now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
Um,
that's the thing too. Like we, the beaches, we have all this equipment. Sometimes we have to look up, like, okay, how does it work? How does it
oh, right,
operate? You know what I mean? Because we don't know. We just buy cool shit and then
right,
we try to use it. And then, but like I said, none of us really subscribe to, we're more personal experiences and EVPs and weird shit that happens because weird shit does happen.
right.
But
And then if the weird shit lines up with an EVP, oh, holy crap!
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, we were like, what I mean, weird shit. Like, we were at Hinsdale and all of a sudden these cop cars are pulling up and we're like, the hell's going
What the
on?
heck?
Yeah. And we meet them outside and they said, is there a Dana Ballinger here? And we're like, no.
Huh.
And they're like, well, somebody called 911. We're helping out like it wasn't Hinsdale. It was like either the state or the sheriff's department. If it wasn't Hinsdale police, it was like, and they were like, well, we're helping out. We got a 911 call. We put the address in and it brought us here. And
Oh,
he
that's
said,
bizarre.
the address is 3 Bear Drive, but that's not Hinsdale's address.
Huh.
You're like, yeah, no,
Like
that's
he
not,
was like he was brought to the wrong place.
there's all 3 of them. There were
Oh, geez.
3 cop cars that
Oh,
pulled up.
holy crap.
So
Huh.
nobody named Dana was here. We did not call 911, and no, this is not 3 Bear Drive. And when I reached out to the caretaker for Hinsdale, Tiffany, I asked her, I said, do you have somebody coming in named Dana that might be? And she's like, no, nobody's coming in after you guys. And she's like, I've lived in Hinsdale my entire life. There is no Bear Drive in Hinsdale.
Oh, geez.
I was like, okay. That was
Well,
weird.
that's bizarre.
Yeah, that's
We'll talk
strange.
we'll talk about bizarre things and kind of like bizarre technology. I emailed you that phone recording.
Oh yeah, I have it. Do you want me to play
Uh,
it?
yeah, do we want to play that?
Yeah, we can play it.
It's
Kind of, you
uh,
set it up. You set
yeah,
it
I
up.
can I can set it up. It was a friend of mine named Betty. That this is an incoming phone call. Uh, she is a nurse. It's going to sound like it calls out to a hospital, but it's not one that she worked at. Um, and it was like, it was fairly early in the morning, and she didn't get to her phone before it went to voicemail, and it recorded this thing.
So this is
And
a recording on her cell phone.
it's a phone message, like it's somebody called in,
Oh,
and
okay. So it's on.
this was left as a message from trying to call her phone. But if we listen to it, it sounds like it's calling out to somewhere else,
Okay. So let
and
me.
it's very, very, very strange.
Okay, I'm gonna share screen. Let me hold on. First, let me pull. Okay, let me go back here. Share screen. Scream.
You might. Have you listened to it yet?
Yes, it was really good. There's a lot going on there.
Oh yeah.
All right, so did it share it yet? Are we sharing?
I'm not seeing it on
Hold on. It says
the thing
can't
yet.
share screen. Hold on.
Okay.
Wait, let me do it again. Share screen. Share. Okay, there we are.
Okay.
Now let me go get it. Where are you? Where did it go? Oh, wait. I thought I put it. I thought I got it. There it is. Here it is.
Good morning.
Yeah. So then it's put on hold.
So, who says good morning? Does she know?
No, because it's supposed to be. I mean, I sent you the image as well. It shows when the message came in.
Yeah.
It was a call to her phone, and she didn't answer it. So this is the voicemail that was left.
Okay. So, good
It,
morning.
it's
I'm going to go
yeah.
back.
So yeah. Go back to the very beginning there.
Okay. Here we go.
Good morning. Thank you for your patience while on hold.
See the what's happening?
It
Hold
looks
on.
like it's not paused, but it paused.
That's weird. Okay.
Oh, maybe it only loaded.
No, I listened to the whole thing. What the heck? It never ceases to amaze me the technical difficulties that happens on my show. I'm not even kidding you. All right, hold on. Come on. Why?
Is it not playing at all?
Yeah, hold on. Let me redo it. Hold on. Let me pull it back up.
Good morning. Thank you for your patience while on hold. At Wentworth Douglas Hospital, your call is important to us, so please stay on the line and we'll be with you shortly.
So that's the interesting thing. So yeah,
Yeah. So that's
right there.
not hospital that she works at. So it's not even like that it was one of her coworkers or anything.
And it sounds like an outgoing call because they're like, please hold. Thank you for calling. Please hold.
Right.
When this was an incoming call to her phone and not the
Yes.
hospital that she works at. So I just want to make
Yes.
sure everybody's on the same page with that. Okay. Why did it stop again?
It's trying to be spookier. But yes, but that's what keeps happening is there keeps winding up being this weird shuddery moan that's going on.
Hold on. I'm going to pull it up again, but I'm going to start at that. Sorry. I don't know why it's
So please stay on the line. So please stay on the line and we'll be with you shortly.
so strange because
Right? It's like
we had
somebody picked it up and did that and then
yeah.
clicked off again, but then it's still on hold.
Thank you for calling. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate your patience. Please continue to hold, and your call will be answered just as soon as possible. Thanks again for calling Wentworth Douglas Hospital.
Or call your operator to help you. We're sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or call your operator to help you.
Right, and you can still hear the person in the background.
Still hear the moaning or whatever. So strange.
And then it just sounds like a TV in the background.
Right. It does sound like there's like some rustling going on.
Right, like somebody's moving around, yeah.
Yeah. Right there was something.
Right, it sounded like the breath of the same person that was kind of moaning.
Yep. Right there sounds like rustling. Interesting.
And then that's it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
She has had this on her phone, various phones for. She's had this on her phone for various phones for 15 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she initially had me listen to it, it had been 5 years, and her husband
it was
will
big.
not listen to the message, which I think is part of how come she held on to the message. Yeah, because it kind of freaks him out a little bit.
Well, and how do and like it's just as weird.
Right. You know, and at the same time, I think her aunt had a similar message. And her aunt just got freaked out and deleted it.
Oh my gosh.
So Betty wasn't able to verify this. Like, okay, was this a similar message? Was this the same message?
Right.
And the two of them are not on the same like cell plan or anything.
Wow.
So
And
yeah, it's just one of these very weird kind of things.
Yeah. And did she ever have like so 15 years ago, so did she have like anything on the caller ID? Was anything like
I sent you the I sent you the screenshot of the
Where'd you send it?
of the record along with that message.
Oh, it was in that email?
Yes. Let's see,
Hold on.
send.
Let me see. Because I only saw. Oh, you
Yeah,
did.
well, yeah. So there was no phone number; it just says unknown.
Yeah. So let me just.
Yeah,
So I just want people
June
to see it.
1st, 2009, 6:24 a.m.
Okay, so I just want people to see it. That's the
Yeah, that was the kind of ID for that message.
unknown. That's what was happening with the calls from. It was like it was out of area. With the calls that
Right.
I was playing the other night, and that's just bizarre. It's bizarre.
Oh yeah. Is it
I
is it
love.
paranormal? Who knows?
I don't know.
But it's very strange, and
Yeah.
that's not how an incoming call should act, at least for the part of it that's, calling out to a hospital and getting put on hold,
Right.
you know.
And not for nothing, but that's a really long hold for a hospital.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I think that's also how come it got disconnected too.
That's
um
cool.
yeah, it's just really interesting.
Yeah. I like
You
that.
know,
I love
I,
stuff.
I'd be really curious what Mr. Biddle would actually think of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he'd probably have to check into how, like cell calls get put, through and everything. But uh yeah, again, like is it paranormal? I don't know, but it is very, very weird.
Yeah. I like strange things that are
Mhm.
you're unable to explain. I love that. Even when I watch true crime, I watch a lot, mostly true crime docs and, stuff like that.
Right.
And I find myself liking the ones that are unsolved, the ones that are unsolved and and I know that sounds pretty messed up because yes, you want closure for the families and this and
Right.
that, but the ones that don't make sense, I like them more than the ones where it's like, okay, we know what happened. And, I mean, they're still good, but the ones that keep me intrigued or, you know what I mean? And watching, you're just like, the
Yeah, the
straight.
ones where things don't exactly line up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I don't know. I like to challenge myself. Who knows? But, well, I know you have to get ready for work.
Mhm.
So, I thank you for coming on. And I also want to say you have a really good radio voice.
Oh, thank you very much.
You have a voice where it sounds like you should either be on the radio or you should be doing podcast like like the streaming podcast or something
Right.
like that. You have a voice for it.
Well, I'd like to do a podcast at some point. We actually have a name already, Drowning Out the Silence.
I like it. Nobody steal it.
We'll have a couple of pages of it already, so hopefully that holds the space enough.
That's cool. Well, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your insight. I love, that I met you through, a cool community, and you're a really nice person, and I'm
Thank
happy
you.
I was able to have you on.
Thank you very much.
And I'll be chatting with you.
All righty.
All right, you have a good day.
You too.
All right. See ya. Until
See ya.
next time, everybody. Sweet dreams.